Number 5. 76-year-old who allegedly murdered 4 out of her 5 husbands. 76-year-old Betty Neumar planned to buy her grandson a $100,000 life insurance policy. How did she acquire such a substantial amount, you may ask? A likely possibility was the suspected murder of 4 out of her 5 husbands throughout her lifetime. Betty was convicted in 2008 of 3 counts of solicitation to commit first-degree murder in the death of her 4th husband, Gerald Gentry, who was shot to death in his own home. In other words, she was accused of having hired a hitman to complete the task. She collected at least $20,000 in 1986 when her 4th husband was killed. A year prior to this, she had received $10,000 in a life insurance policy from the death of her son. She also had life insurance on her 5th husband, John Numa, who died in 2008 from sepsis. However, there have been investigations to whether he was poisoned instead. Although there has been no concluding evidence, records and interviews suggest that the 76-year-old woman was consumed and driven by money in order to perpetrate these crimes. She passed away before her trial came to fruition in 2008. It just goes to show that an innocent-looking church-going senior was not as sweet as you may have thought. Number 4. Woman who bit her husband's penis off. A 36-year-old woman, Katia Kiradavanova, was sentenced to a 2-year imprisonment in a Russian labor camp after biting her 40-year-old husband's penis off and attacking his lover. Katia and her husband, Mikhail, went for a walk when they stumbled across Katia's best friend, Lisa, inviting her home for a meal. After the meal, they settled down to watch H.G. Wells' classic War of the Worlds. However, Katia fell asleep during the movie. Half an hour later, she woke up in disbelief to discover her best friend performing sexual acts on her husband. In a fit of rage, Katia grabbed a floor lamp and hit it over the head of her friend Lisa, before biting and severing her husband's penis. Realizing the extent of the injuries she inflicted, she phoned an ambulance and the pair was rushed to a nearby hospital. Lisa had sustained severe concussion, whereas Mikhail's penis had to be stitched back together. Number 3. Woman who killed both of her husbands and framed her daughter. A 41-year-old woman by the name of Stacy Castor is a convicted murderer responsible for the deaths of both of her husbands and the attempted murder of her own daughter. Her first husband, Mitchell Wallace, died in 2000 in what was believed at the time to be a heart attack. However, in light of newer evidence, it was disclosed that Mitchell was actually poisoned. Through chemical analysis, it was observed that Mitchell's body contained ethylene glycol, the primary ingredient in antifreeze. This was the very additive Stacy used in order to kill her second husband, David Castor. It was believed that she'd used a turkey baster to forcibly administer a lethal dose of antifreeze into David's mouth, once he became physically weak. In 2007, evidence placed Stacy at the scene of the crime, and in a panic, she attempted to frame her daughter, Ashley, by drugging her with prescription tablets and vodka, and placing a suicide note which confessed to the murders. In a turnover of events, Ashley woke up to testify against her mother. Stacy Castor now faces a 51-year life sentence in prison for murder, attempted murder, and forgery. Number 2. Woman who killed and ate her husband. Egyptian-born former model and nanny Omaima Nelson was sentenced to 27 years life imprisonment after committing a plainly disgusting and grotesque act. On Thanksgiving Day in 1991, the then 23-year-old murdered her 56-year-old husband by stabbing him with a pair of scissors in the chest and neck and then beating him with a clothesline. However, it did not end there. She proceeded to then dismember his corpse, cooked his head and fried his hands in order to remove his fingerprints. The sickening former model and nanny then went on to cooking her dead husband's ribs in barbecue sauce and then ate them, claiming that they tasted so sweet. Nelson then mixed her husband's body parts with leftovers of Thanksgiving turkeys, and then disposed of them in a rubbish disposal truck. Before she committed her vile immoral act, she dressed in red shoes, a red hat, and wore red lipstick. If that wasn't enough, Nelson reported on castrating her husband in revenge for his alleged sexual assaults. She has been branded as the Californian Hannibal Lecter for her atrocious crime. Number 1. Woman who killed her husband and served him as dinner for his kids. Australian woman Catherine Knight had a history of violent behaviour in relationships. She mashed the dentures of one of her ex-husbands and slashed the throat of another's husband's 8-year-old weak puppy right before his eyes. However, her most horrific crime that brought public attention was the murder of her fourth husband, John Charles Thomas Price, back in 2000. Catherine stabbed her husband 37 times with a butcher's knife and then decapitated his head, placing it in a pot on the stove. Not only did she decapitate her husband, but she also skinned him and hung him from a meat hook on the architrave of the door. In addition to this, she baked the flesh from his buttocks and cooked vegetables and gravy as a side, to serve to Price's children. Fortunately, police arrived at the scene before the children returned from school, and discovered the head of Price in a warm pot stewed with potatoes, cabbage and zucchini. Knight was the first Australian woman to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole, but it comes as no surprise due to the wicked and barbaric crimes she committed. This video was made in collaboration with 10 Everything, so if you'd like to see 10 Most Cruel Husbands, then be sure to check out his version by clicking on screen right now, or by clicking the link in the description if you're on a mobile device. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.